All these damn questions. All these damn questions. People always asking me all these damn questions, and they so confused. I don't know what to tell them. Why he do this? Why he do that? How you do this? How you do that? Hell yeah, I'm trying to do what I want, and I get good.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Objectively aggressive 2023 on some new shit. Looks the same, always changing it up. Same faces, similar mindsets, ready to get after the same old shit and new shit. Everything's been shared. We're here ready to go. How y'all doing? What's good, Doc? What's good, Tay?
Man, I'm good, brother. Good, man. Glad to see another rotation around the sun, brother.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
365, man. You know, it's good to see y'all. We took a hiatus, you know, because I'm a firm believer in you don't miss nothing till it's gone. You know, and I say that to say I miss doing this with y'all, man. Like it was therapeutic. I felt it as a way to get certain things out, you know, and as we come back, I got a lot of stuff on my mind and on my heart, and it's all objective, no pressure, all perspective, always aggressive. And today, what we talk about, I want to talk about the Emperor Gladiator complex. And so today, gentlemen, my sweet serenade to the gladiator and the emperor is to understand that sometimes you have to start from the blue collar bottom and take over with brute force or some sort of mental fortitude to be able to push through and become some sort of gladiator. But to understand that power comes in multiple forms and know that the emperor controls all. But yo, real talk, the emperor be hating on the gladiator. And so I want to talk about this for a lot of different reasons, man, because we just watched Hamlin, Buffalo Bills cornerback. He took a hit, and this is something that we've never seen before. Yet I'm willing to bet we've heard about before. And I would say this because I as a former athlete and as a person who still feels like he can do something, I've always had the fear of just randomly passing the fuck out and dying. But I've always had the double fear of playing football and taking a hit. There's nothing I can do about it because the game of football is dangerous, deadly, and ready to kill at any time. Man, to be a gladiator is to have survived war and to come out a victor and to say that I'll do it again. But to understand that the emperor has all the power. We were sitting up there waiting to decide whether this game was going to go on. And the emperor had to decide. We live in such a society where we don't even understand that. But both of them are both facades of power. Doc, talk to me.
Man, you know, I think it starts with one of the most original questions we ask ourselves is birthright. Because birthright, I think, goes into a larger issue about how do you become an emperor, how you become a gladiator. Usually you're born into a family of leadership, or you're born that nurture argument. But I think that when you start talking about the complex of an emperor, I think that the idea is psychological, because there was for a long time, Great Britain was an empire, but they asked the king of England, they said, why don't you have the title of emperor? And he said, because of tradition, and ultimately because when you start to talk about empire, you bring into the conversation something that the people may not be ready for, not the individual leading. So the people don't want to be an empire because they understand that it goes against the idea of nationalism.
Mm.
Because in an empire, I have multi-ethnic, all kind of groups of people. But inherently, people are nationalistic. They want to have a flag or a banner. And they'll say, well, what empire do you fall under? It's like, no. And so I think that psychologically, the challenge of being an empire carries a weight that you don't have. It's what happened with Prussia when it became Germany. The citizenry lost their mind because after the Franco-Prussian War, the average citizen who lived in Prussia at the time always saw France as a neighbor, not as a part of people we control. And it changed the psychology of these people are no longer our neighbor. So I think that when you start to talk about it, the emperor must cloak his power. Whereas the gladiator has an incentive to utilize his physical abilities more so than the emperor, because if you have to use power, you lose power. If you have to use power, you lose power. And the greatest thing about power and the most potent thing about true power, it is invisible. You don't see it. Because when you start to see it, you can attack it.
Hey, so let me, and so I always say the ultimate power is to know you have power and to not to use it.
Unless necessary.
Yeah. You don't flex that power unless it's necessary. But a keen mind would know that to flex that power would be to take care of that issue, but would be to reveal that power.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so as I segue to Tay, I say, something I heard that you just said, and something I heard today. I heard KRS-One, talking about the Timberland boot and how that was originally a worker boot.
It was a work boot.
And then the culture took it and made it what it is today, right? And so to have the mentality of the gladiator, I think, is to be the working man, right? And so we talk about this American dream, and plug coming soon, new podcast, American OD, premiering January 23rd. And so as we talk about all these different things and we segue, we take the mindset of bootstrap and say, you know what, we got to get it how we live. But there are ways that you got to do that, because we can be blinded by the European thought process of it's about money. It's about fear and people come to get it, rather than building yourself as God's tool to give back to the world. And no man shall be feared because you walk with the strength of God. Gladiator or emperor, if you're walking in the strength of God, we're talking King David type stuff. But as a mere blue collar man, to walk and know that you are a gladiator and know that there is an emperor everywhere, you need to be aware that there are masters everywhere. And so as I transition to my boy Tay that I ain't seen in a while, what's up?
Yeah, what's happening, fellas, man? Happy New Year to everybody out there. Happy New Year to everybody out there, man. I haven't studied or read Roman history in a long time, so a lot of things I'm gonna say, hopefully I don't jumble it up. But I think that's we were talking about the Hamlin and stuff. The one, and when you mentioned the topic, the one connection I had was that gladiators came from a class of people. They came from a enslaved class. And gladiators also rose to prominence as well. They were considered the NFL players if you were really good at being a gladiator. You know what I mean? And we know that we know that football or sports generally that have black people in it come these gladiators on a court or on a football field come
Go
from a
Eagles.
certain, hey, go birds. Hey, we struggling right now, but hey, go birds. But like, they come from a certain class of people, right? They come from a certain, group of people. You know what I mean? So, my mind in that moment went to about capitalism, labor, right? Capitalism, labor, people putting their body on the line, right? Even us serving in the military, we put our body on the line for capitalism in some sort of way, you know what I'm saying? And we're not properly compensated for the labor. So a lot of times you're going to die or potentially die in order to gain what I think it was Ben Franklin called a happy mediocrity, right? You just gain enough stuff just to make you comfortable or make yourself wealthy and rich, you know what I'm saying? So, and yeah, at times it could be there. Now, here's the other thing. Where the gladiators from yesteryears and the gladiators on the football field share a very commonality is that they had the power to rise up, right? But they needed a whole bunch, right? So the gladiators yesteryear, the most famous gladiator people know is Spartacus, right? And the slave revolt. That's what it was. It was a slave revolt. And also on the football field, the reason that the NFL had to cancel it was because the players and the coaches said they weren't going back on the field. That's not being reported. And it's on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want people to understand the power that they have against the emperor, right? This is what
No.
this is what now when we talk about emperor and gladiator sports, the reason you had gladiator sports is because the emperor wanted the people, the working class of people, to be distracted, give them something. I can't remember which emperor said, but basically you give people something distracted to distract themselves. They won't pay attention to, you know what I'm saying, to their condition. You know what I'm saying? You keep them from rising up, you know what I mean? Because even in Rome, they also had, slave revolts. They had many, because like Doc was saying, they had different ethnic groups of people, which is why Rome fell, because they had people who were from different ethnic groups and cultures who did not have an allegiance to Roman culture. So,
Yo,
so
yo,
there's
yo.
some similarities.
Stop. Say less. Say less.
Hmm.
Say
Yeah, yeah,
less. You said a lot. You said a
yeah. Try to
lot.
get out there, man. Try to get out. Try to remember all that. Try to make connections. You know, what I'm saying?
Hey,
Go
listen
back and
to
forth,
me.
man.
Listen to me. That's exactly where we needed to go. Because the conversation that I've always had, like, let's go back to 2020, right? Coronavirus, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. There's a lot of shit going on in 2020. And they were trying to kick the football season off. I was against it.
Mm.
I said, you know what? Chunk it. And that ain't because I don't know. I think I won the fantasy football championship that year. Maybe the next year. It wasn't about that. You know what I mean? We light flex, whatever.
Mm.
I wanted the gladiators to take the power back. Because ever since Kaepernick, because I can't lie, man, like besides Mike Vick, which has a nasty taste in my ATL, Georgia, Columbus, whatever mouth, because they did him wrong too. Because Ben Roethlisberger, I literally know a dude who represented Ben Roethlisberger in a college case. You know how they handle stuff at the level, like let the student who handled his little sexual assault bullshit back then at Miami, Ohio, which ain't really about shit. Because I know a friend who had a daughter up there and they treated her like shit. What a crappy program. But anyway, Mike Vick got treated like shit. But that was probably the last injustice I saw. Then I saw Kaepernick, and he kneeled because he knew he had a platform, and he used it. You know what? Damn it, I would have did it too. I probably would have burnt out quick because I'm trying to learn patience. Because when I get out, hey, let me tell you something. They would have canceled me real quick, right? And so, in my confident opinion, no cap, these gladiators are so complacent. They're so complacent with people like figuratively licking their asses. You know what I mean? They take no ownership and responsibility for their place in this country and having all this power. Because I'll be damned, I would have probably been and had some sort of, I probably would have had my own damn country somewhere if I was one of these players like LeBron. But no, it's so sexy to be admired and to live under this particular Eurocentric, like you're winning type thing, and to get this pat on the head, right? Because I'm sick of this physical consciousness of we are inferior, but to know that spiritually, shit, and I'm gonna leave it there. Confident opinion, gladiators need to do more with their platform.
You know, I will tell you, man, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. And I think so often when we see the crown, we see the jewels, we see the splendor, but we don't see the weight of it. Because I would ask a question, and this is an important question, is that our leaders will not be athletes or entertainers.
Right.
I think we put a mantle on people because they have athletic ability. They may not have intellectual ability.
Bro,
I
don't normally interrupt you, doctor. I do not normally interrupt you. Here's my problem. I'm coming from whoever. I come from a world, a life, an ability to be a supreme athlete. Supreme. And I also sit at the level of quarterback intellect to be able to run it and be a leader. And so supreme intellect and supreme athleticism, but they only limit that to white men, remember, for the quarterback position. So continue. Sorry.
But it's the exception, not the rule. I think that when you start to take somebody primarily from a low-income background and you give them multi-millions of dollars and expect them to be to turn into Martin Luther King, it's not realistic. It's not. Because what do you do?
Not in America.
Because what do you do when you deprive someone of assets and capital? When you give them capital, their first usually inclination is on self. It's sustaining it. It's setting up my family and my kids don't have to struggle, etc. So I think that what we have done is we've said gladiator. In addition to being a great fighter, I want you now to fight for social justice. I want you to fight for equality. And then the question then becomes is the only reason we say this to them, and we don't say this to any other group. We don't ask Aaron Rodgers to be anything but a quarterback. We don't ask anything of any white athlete in America. We don't ask Tom Brady.
They don't have
No,
they don't have
but this is my point. So when you put a mantle on someone who did not, like in their contract, it didn't say be outspoken for social justice. And so when they do it, I do believe it's genuine. I think you do have people who are willing to forego the payday because they understand they don't want to be in the situation where they're being exploited for their name, image, and likeness.
Who says anything like that that's worth even listening to?
Well, but I think that's the point. And so when you start to look at, I don't confuse platform for people just because a comedian has a platform, but they may not be the one who is going to be able to speak to policy. They may be able to tell you about it, but this isn't what they study and what they do. Their response is to get a laugh. And so when you start to look at some of the intricacies of our problems, they need specificity. They need people who study these issues. And don't get me wrong, it takes a lot of skill and practice to be at the height of your sport. But one of the things that we have not done is we have not said what is the litmus test for you to speak on these issues. And I'm not saying, and it don't have to be school. It could just be an informed opinion. But I think the problem that they run into is that they get into water that is deeper than they can swim in.
Yeah.
And so here, you are so good. You know what? This is one of them special nights. Like, I feel this is gonna be one tonight. Listen, you're right.
Can I add something though, real quick?
Yes, you can add something, Tay.
So I think that there are athletes that do things right, especially we've seen it during the George Floyd incident. You know what I'm saying? I know one of my favorite Eagles, Malcolm Jenkins. You know what I'm saying? He did stuff with the police. A lot of the things that a lot of the athletes do is local. You know what I'm saying? Like LeBron James has a school. You know what I'm saying? And he also helps out, kids in inner cities, or not, I won't say inner city, but he try to help out kids so that they can get to the next platform. You had Bennett, of course, or you had the Bennett brothers. Of course, you had Wilt Chamberlain. You had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, we've had people.
Tay, yeah, you took my time and I gave it to you in my transition, and I listened. And I love you so much that I want to cut you off because I sent you something. And Doc was looking at it. It was an earth. It was a lot of shit on there, right? It was a lot. But I want to say something, and I want to publicly interrupt you because it's that important. All those people who make it to that level of responsibility of being able to drive culture have a sole decision to make. They make sole decisions every day, just like we have that conversation that when trauma happens in the world, people take their sides, right? Some people speak out, some people go to their corners, right? To the point when, we're going back to Kanye, Dave Chappelle even had to distance himself from Kanye at some point in time, right? And so what I'm saying is, LeBron, everybody's doing great things, and believe it or not, at this particular point in time, 2023, 40-year-old me would say, LeBron doesn't have the competency, and he didn't have the guidance to understand that when he made it to that level, he had a responsibility to change the whole goddamn game. So I'm gonna ask you this: the difference between the gladiator and the emperor is that at the end of the day, the gladiator mostly is always good with being the gladiator because of the oppression that comes with it. Because again, there was only one Roman, and we're gonna keep this in that area. And Doc, please destroy that if you want to. Orte, there was only one gladiator that became an emperor. You know what I mean? So to understand why athletes stay in their place is to understand how they were raised. You listen to parents put kids in these situations and these meat markets and then fucking complain about it. Tay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think my point is that we have brothers and sisters who are doing the work. Okay, so I just want to make sure they're not gonna change the system overnight, because the problem is that Black people, and I said it before and I'll say it again, we are a celebrity obsessed culture. We are very celebrity obsessed. The problem is not the athlete. The problem is that we're listening to Charlemagne the God, who puts out misinformation. You get information from the Shade Room. You get information from Ye. That is the problem. You know what I'm saying? So you can't see the athlete that's out here that's actually trying to get police reform changed, that's trying to get housing issues changed, that's actually going to Congress talking about reparations that happened in 2020. You know what I'm saying? You don't see that because we're too busy listening, dealing with misinformation. You dig what I'm saying?
That's true. Can I ask you a question in that day? I want you to retort to it real quick. Do you feel like, because we're talking about Malcolm Jenkins, and you know what? My comment sounds like it's one-sided, but I completely agree and know that all these NFL players and NBA players have activism that's going on. But I'm saying like these mega players have platforms where at the end of the day, they can get people to actually shut down the leagues. That's what I'm
they can shut down the league in order to change, but shutting down the league is not going to get people higher pay. That's not what's going to happen. You know what
we're
I'm
not looking
saying?
for that.
But what I'm saying is when you're talking about changing the culture or changing, you can only change where you're at. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King can only change the issues that where he was at. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X and Fannie Hamer, they can only change the condition where they're at. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And the issues within the black community or the black culture is so multifaceted that we can't put we can't put revolution in a box. You know what I mean? Revolution has to come in different forms. You know what I'm saying? So while yes, there's more that can be done. There are athletes that are doing things, but again, I will say that we're dealing in a time where people they get information uh, from other sources, and it makes it very difficult to actually influence change. You can't influence when the people is ignorant. You know what I'm saying? And
For
that's
sure.
just yeah.
But
No,
does
and I
does
appreciate
voting
that
give you the
perspective.
method though? Because I think that the culture, for example, if you look at Muhammad Ali and you say he stood up at a time when the opposition stood up.
Mhm.
And I think that what you find out happening is that in leisure and in comfort, you're going to be less likely to speak out.
Mhm.
And I think that what you're starting to see in our culture today is like if you go and look at philanthropy, the only reason that philanthropy was started in America with the libraries and the endowments and all that is because rich people had a guilt that they had so much money that if they did not give back, then the people would demand accountability from them. So Carnegie and Rockefeller say, "Hey, look, we built this library. We built this. Look, we're being benefactors of this money." And I think that to the point of old money versus new money,
Money. Mhm.
all these athletes today are new money.
Mhm.
New money.
New money don't give money away. Old money does, unless it's like a tax write-off. But what you're starting to see happen, I think, is that this idea is as the opposition rises, then the people will rise to meet the challenge. In this idea that we are not having to actively do things because the opposition has been silent.
Mhm.
They like the destruction of blackness is on autopilot. They don't have to do anything.
Ooh, boy, y'all dropping that. Both of y'all on that tonight, man.
So when you start to see unity, when you start to see solidarity, then you will see that power. When you if 4 or 5 athletes got together to collective bargain and change the things, you'd see the power.
Mhm.
But see, to understand that there's 2 words. Capitalism fosters competition, not cooperation. We live in a system that is designed to produce competition.
Yep.
Well,
And so,
okay.
so when you see competition, I would say, is competition a better system than cooperation? Because I would argue if we cooperated with each other, then the competition would be who could cooperate the best.
Right.
Not who has an incentive to see me fail. And I think that's where our culture is so toxic. When you look at the versus battle, right? Have you ever seen a versus battle between non-black people? Why we got to say who's the best, Monica or Brandy? Why does it got to be who's the best basketball player, Michael Jordan or LeBron? Why can't they just all be great? But we have a
I say
culture
the same shit.
where there can only be one emperor. There can only be one emperor. And so because there can only be one emperor, psychologically, what we have said is that somebody has to be the greatest, but we don't do that with anybody else. We don't say who's the best, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. We don't compare anybody else. And the reason that we are the only ones who do that is because it was bred in us to be the best slave on the plantation. And that's why when I read this book here, when I see athletes, this is what I see. $40 million slaves. It's who can be the, because there could only be one HNIC.
God.
And so when you start to talk about why there can only be one HNIC, it's because the power structure understands if you have multiple kings, because to be an emperor, you need multiple kingdoms. That's why LeBron, it was shut up and dribble.
Yeah, LeBron. Yeah.
Because if you start to operate outside of your domain, now we have to let you know that the only reason you have this platform is because you're this. As soon as you start to try to change that platform, we're going to take away your original. And so that's why I think you got to be very careful when you start to talk about the role and responsibilities, because if we have to get to a point where we have to compete with each other, we already lost.
Bro,
okay. We already lost. We already at that point.
I sometimes.
Oh, my bad. No, I'm just saying. Look.
Hey, I'll give it to you, man. It's y'all's work. Go ahead.
But look at all the gender battles, right? The relationship, the high value woman, and all this other stuff, man. We are already there. We're already competing, man. We're already, we've been there for about 30 or 40 years, man. And again, a lot of that is because people believe in this myth that we can black business our way out of our issues and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it just create competition. I remember, my brother asked me if I had goals, and I was like, "Nah, man, I don't got goals, man. I ain't got goals for the year, man. My goal is to whatever I wake up, whatever I have. You know what I'm saying? Because it creates competition. Because people want to, what's your goal? What's your goal? You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, just live life, man. Just live life,
for sure.
And cooperate and be in unity.
Yeah.
Now, what we're starting to see, we're starting to, not only are we seeing Black American, this push and pull. We're also starting to see it within the diaspora. You know what I'm saying? So where Black immigrants come here, now it's an us versus them now, instead of cooperation and unity to work together. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, okay. Here we go. And so with both of those, I'm for 2023. I do have a goal, Tay.
Hey, man.
I want to learn more patience. And at the end of the day, why? Because again, patience is part of time, and time is the fourth dimension. Time is the dimension that we cannot control from a physical aspect, right? And so I've here found that 3D consciousness is of the physical state, 4D is the gateway to 5D, and 5D is like being of more than the physical state and understanding that other things control your life besides the physical state. Right. And so my concrete explanation is taking everything that y'all said and says you hit it dead on the nail. You said some things, Doc, that, if you take 4 or 5 individuals, you could probably do something. And Tay, you're absolutely right. Don't let my generalization completely drown the fact that there are a lot of people trying to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, they will only do so much because they have fear of losing that job. And so what I'm speculating on is that these individuals only do as much as they can to check the box, right? To keep people off their back. And I would say that we've had, just like Muhammad Ali, we have had generational talents such as Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson.
What Michael Jordan say?
Republicans buy shoes too.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
So I will tell you this, man.
That's what I'm saying.
But this is part of the problem is this. When you as an individual become a brand. So when I'm a brand, I have to speak on behalf of my brand first.
Yes, sir.
So if my brand is to be objectively aggressive, then as I am more objectively aggressive, I speak for my brand. And some people's brands are designed to be non-threatening to whiteness. Their
Correct.
brand is to be, I don't do any drugs or alcohol. Because they understand if their image is hurt, the brand suffers. And so this goes once again back to slave culture, because you are not supposed to be your brand. You are not supposed to be, because if you become your brand, see, and this is why when I think of why there are so many successful organizations, right? Because like when the Catholic Church was abusing these children, not one of those people were branded as the church.
Mhm.
So they could get away with things because they did not represent the organization, because they deviated from the brand. See, but when you are the singular solo actor in the brand, you cannot establish deviant behavior because you are it. And so this idea of counterculturing the brand is to say that, yes, my celebrity status has afforded me a platform, and insofar as I can continue to do this well, then I can expand. However, if I get my Nike contract and I say something that Nike does not agree with, then Nike can pull said contract from me. So how much freedom do I have if I know that if I say something that the big brand will go against? And so when you talk about us, I think the concern and why we cannot cooperate is because everybody can't get the $100 million contract.
Yeah, man.
They know that. And to the idea of gladiator and birthright, there are myths that we tell ourselves to perpetuate our system. If you expose the myth, then the underlying psychology falls apart. And that greatest myth is that, do you know statistically how hard it is to get into any of these fields? You're not going to tell me that somebody's going to work 20 years of their life, extra time, gym time, workout time, sacrificing, eating, dieting, just to get to an opportunity to become a spokesman for people who ain't organized. Come on.
Come on, man.
Come on.
We wish. We wish.
Come on, Doc. Come on, man.
I mean, why can't we?
Exactly.
Because
black folks believe in everything else. Why can't be Jesus in the form of an athlete?
Because it goes against the fundamental principle of our system. And see, the idea is that you're only sacrificing momentary pleasure for a greater gain. But see, in most instances, there is no greater gain, because what we're starting to see happening is this is not a resource issue. I think that we look at it as a resource issue first. It's not. It's a resource issue second. It's a thinking issue first. And how we have been trained and conditioned to think about celebrities. So you talked about some of the individuals. Remember, these individuals only have platforms because they can stoke the flame, because they prod people into thinking or indoctrinating them into a worldview that we may not agree with, but because he who has the biggest podium seems right. The bully pulpit.
Yeah, bully pulpit. Yeah.
And I don't get into this idea anymore, because if somebody cannot deviate from the script, then they are essentially enslaved. Because that's what it is. There's a script to follow. There's a script. And once you get off of script, you are in no man's land. Correct. No allies, no friends. Because I will tell you this, LeBron James don't know you. He don't know me. And he don't owe me nothing. Right. He don't owe me a dime or a thing. Nope. He don't owe
No,
you nothing, and no athlete owes anybody anything. But
no.
what we have seen happening is the same thing that happens in other cultures, is that you will not perpetuate a stereotype in order to be used against me later, because you know how it goes. As soon as you no longer become an asset and you are a liability, they will cut you. Bro, when you
That's
can't
something
jump
like what happened
anymore,
when we retired from the military.
bro, cut you. Thank you for your service.
That's what it felt like when we retired, right? Like when we were
Thank you.
retiring, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, well, bye."
Yes, appreciate you.
Hey, man, appreciate you. Yeah, appreciate your service, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
All
But
right,
you know,
what you
man,
got?
it's
Say your timely explanation,
yeah,
man.
man.
What you got?
You know, it is yeah, man. Doc always dropping the word, man. But you know,
He be
it
dropping.
is, man. You know, it it really is like we have to. I man, sometimes I think that we're stuck in like the '60s or '70s. We're waiting for Martin Luther King or somebody to come by, and we know, you know, like Dr. Joy DeGrasse said in her book Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome. You know what I'm saying? We need more. We need more than one, so that when
Yeah.
you take when you kill it, when you get rid of the leader, you know the movement don't stop. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I feel
Always
like
say kill. I like that though. Say kill. Say kill the
yeah.
leader.
Yeah. Dr. Jordan Gray, Post Traumatic Slave Disorder Syndrome. That's a great book. But you know, but I think that you know, the further and further that we get away from the civil rights movement, you know what I mean, you know, what this society has done is created uh this individualistic mindset. You know what I'm saying? And the individualistic mindset, you know what I'm saying, or this individualistic ideology, really, you know what I'm saying, really is, I think, at the crux of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it would be nice if these athletes and these movie stars get together and did something, you know, great, you know, with the money, but um, it's not going to happen. But again, we as regular ordinary thousandaires, you know what I'm saying, and people, we are the people with the power, man, and we don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when I read stories of Denmark Vesey, you know what I mean, who almost had one of the best, you know, one of the greatest slave revolts in American history. It didn't happen, you know, because somebody snitched on him.
Yep.
But it was
Uh
the it
oh.
was
Don't
it
get
was
Doc
the
started.
yeah. But it was the people that had the power, right? Nobody was waiting for Denmark Vesey to come save them. Denmark Vesey just gave them the motivation, you know what I'm saying, to do so. And I think a lot of times, man, we're like stagnant. We're waiting for somebody to save us, man, and we don't need somebody to save us. You know, we have the power. We have political power. We have economic resources. It's just that I think that, you know, much like the gladiators, the emperors used the gladiators to distract the citizens. You know what I'm saying? TikTok and Facebook and all these other things. You know what I mean? Because I also believe that social media is no longer social anymore. It's consumer. It's consumer media, and it's used to distract. You know, what I mean, it's used
Yep.
to distract and keep us from being unified on the one thing that does make us unified, and that is our not only our experience, you know what I mean, but our class situation. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, and even in that, you know, you get black people, you know what I mean, who will look down on other black people. You know what I'm saying? So you know, and it's yeah, man. Like me personally, I don't look to celebrities, you know what I'm saying, to keep me informed or keep me tell me where I need to go, right? However, I will hold them accountable because I know my dollars, my eyeballs is supports them, you know what I'm saying? You know, and I think that we just don't hold the right people accountable at times, you know what I'm saying? Much like the people would hold the gladiators accountable, right? If they lost, you know what I'm saying, emperor give you this, you know what I'm saying? People cheered, yeah, kill them. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? They held them accountable. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
I
Uh, for their performance. You
I
know,
agree with
but
that, man. And so as we wrap this up, I agree with that, man. It's not the responsibility of the celebrities, man, because how in our particular community, you got some who come from backgrounds where you could be like, oh yeah. Then you got some that they came from these single parent households where it's like it felt like their only chance, right? And so them making it to the
But we gotta
highest.
we gotta stop. We gotta stop labeling single parent households as a
What I'm saying,
a lot of single parents household had great communities. You know what I'm saying?
what I'm saying is to understand that there are people who have kids and then automatically turn them kids into potential. Okay, since I have you, I'm going to put you in this meat market
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to play sports because I mean, you take a young kid and you put a lot of stuff in them, they'll do it, especially a young black kid. They'll dance, they'll do whatever because they're so talented. Like the spirit of it just goes, right? And so what I'm saying is,
You could make a
huh?
connection to boys and girls clubs being taken out of black neighborhoods and crime. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of things we could talk about, but
Yeah.
to
My bad.
ignore
Man.
to
Yeah. My bad, man. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no. What I'm saying, we could talk about a lot of things, right? But I'm saying to not talk about how there are people who vicariously live through their kids
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
put them. What's that?
No, I say for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's like that goes back to the conversation that I had with a young man. So I took an internship with Morgan Stanley, and so I had to get my photo, whatever. I went to brunch. And as I'm eating brunch, I see the manager kind of waiting on somebody. Young black guy shows up and has his kid. This is a kind of an interview, and these people are helping take care of the kid. Now, pause. Post COVID, people don't want to work. Da da da. These people doing a little something different to get work in. So anyway, so they took the effort to try to take care of him and the kid. He getting the job, and while I had a second to him, I was like, "Hey, man." I was like, man, it seems like they breaking their neck to show how nice they are with you and your kid, feeding your kid for free and stuff. Because I'm sitting at the bar where all of this is transpiring. And I'm like, yo, that's real nice, man. Like, you got to make sure that they feel like they're sticking their neck out for you. You got to make sure you show, because he's about 21, 22. I seen the youthfulness in him. You know what I mean? And I was just being a almost 20-year older black man, just re-emphasizing that, hey man, good job, man. These people support you. Come show up. Do what you do to make it to the next level. And then we got in a quick conversation. He was talking about how his kid was going to go to the league. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I don't mean to break it down in this particular terminology, but I said, have you ever seen the movie Gladiator? I said, in this particular instance, at the lowest level, would you rather your kid be the emperor or the gladiator? And the only reason I said that to him in that moment is because I saw him in a position where he was being shown grace. And it looked like it was grace, but to know what the economic climate is, to know that work is so hard to get that people are kissing ass at restaurants that are normally popular. And they want cooks and stuff because only the black people work in the back. And why do I know that? Because a friend of mine works at that damn restaurant, and that's where he works.
Hey man, you can't use your friend as a case study. But I was saying, okay, no. But
I paid attention. There was all black people, all the white people working, all the black people working. It was the same thing.
So observation is a way to collect data. However, your personal observations are biased. No. Whoa. That is true. I will agree with you on that, doctor. And you know that I know that. However, I sit at a standpoint where I recognize my bias and I didn't even care anything about it. Shit, I forgot that my homeboy worked there because when I asked them where he was, they was like, we don't know who that is because he goes by a different name there. So I forgot all about it. But I did recognize what a discrepancy was, right? No, I was saying this. The last thing I would say, man, is the emperor has something that the gladiator cannot get. Until recently, it's the deification of thought and origin. If you go historically, if you look at who was Alexander the Great's father,
It was what hold on.
Alexander the Great, emperor.
Alexander the Great's father was
Yeah, I can't even remember.
How about this? How about his dad was Hercules? How about Hercules? Why Hercules? Who was Augustus Caesar? Who was his father? How about Jupiter? No, because one of the things that has happened over time, which you'll see happening, is that the myth replaces the reality. So Alexander's father was Philip II of Macedon.
Yeah,
but the question then becomes, and this is what I would say is the greatest thing that we lack, if in the context of thinking, it's any voice. When somebody says God told them or God spoke to them, what they are really saying is my voice told me, because the only voice you would trust that is God is yours. You would not trust another voice in your head to be God, but your voice, it would come to you in the voice that you hear. So, example, during slavery, the slave master would say to the slave, the Bible says that you have to obey me, right? Now, the slave, because he was not intellectually inclined, he thought that the book actually talked. He thought that the master was telling him what the book he heard from the book. So when the slave went and put his ear to the book, he didn't hear anything. And he thought that he was unworthy to hear from the deity. This is the psychology of it. And so when you begin to see this happening, the emperor can do something that the gladiator cannot do, is that he begins to speak on behalf of the divine. For most of history, we were ruled under what was called the divine right of kings, meaning the king gets his authority from God. And so therefore,
wait a minute, did that come from Henry? Did that come from the Protestant Revolution?
It was before Henry. This is back to
so
biblical days.
You're talking about pre-Protestant Reformation.
This is biblical stuff. Because remember, it was Gideon who brought the issue up, because there was never to have a king in Israel. But the reason that I bring this up is because what I'm starting to see happen is people using this idea that your divinity, that your position was given to you by God, and therefore you can speak on behalf of him to me. This is, I think, one of the most dangerous things we've had in our community, because what Black people primarily have done with this power is created their own fiefdoms on earth with it. They've created their own fiefdoms, because I will tell you this, is that this idea of building something has not been the challenge. We've built a lot of things. We have. But the problem is that they are built for people. They are built for people. So the gladiator can only be remembered as they chant his name in the arena. When the gladiator dies, his memory dies because he was ordinary. But when the emperor dies, he's entombed, and we will, over history, change his story. And I think that has not happened to us, because we have not deified anybody. We have not deified anybody. We have not looked to anybody to speak to us who looks like us on the behalf of a deity, on behalf of all of us, not their own interest. Not, hey, this is going to help me with my building fund. It's like, no. It's like, no, I'm talking about building the people, not building the building, because no one has used that power to do that, to challenge systems. And I would say this, if an athlete could do it, great. But I don't see it historically happening, because what they tended to do is it wasn't about the platform, which is why the story of Jesus is so challenging to people. because his origin story is from humble beginnings.
Right.
He wasn't nobody special.
Right.
And so that story is that, well, guess what? You ain't nobody special. Well, I can relate to that.
Right.
Because
Me too.
they needed a story that the average person could connect with. Because all of us ain't got fathers of kings and emperors, people of common stock. And so now the idea is that divinity can be in you, which is where I will say that I've seen it in a lot of people. I've seen it in flashes of people who have put their self-interest to the back burner for the benefit of justice.
Yeah.
Not for people. And this is the beauty of it. It's not about black or white. It's the idea of righteousness, to be in right standing so that I can sleep good in my, because like I said, if I got $1 million, but my mama ain't got nothing to eat, I'm poor. I'm poor. Because the idea is that your circle only gets larger as the people who are closest to you don't have the need.
Correct.
And that's what I think has happened in these things. We have a lot of strong circles, to your point, Tay, about athletes. We have a lot of strong individual circles. However, they have not been linked.
Right. Yeah.
They have not been linked in shared effort. And I think that that's ultimately by design as well.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've been trying to do, though, right?
Yeah, we link in circles.
But and so right now, even in this particular form, it's about, even if we have dissenting opinions, it's not about the fact that we don't agree. It's about the fact that we're here for the purpose of.
Yeah.
For the purpose of linking together. And then we go out to our own individual circles and then we spread.
Let us reason together.
Yeah, we reason.
Because if you say something that's not reasonable, then or vice versa, if I say something that ain't reasonable, then you can tell me, hey, that ain't a good argument. And vice versa, because if it's not a good argument, then we need to make sure that it passes through that fire before you go out there to the trial. Because I will tell you that they have already seen the power of unity. Because see, what they didn't understand is that if you study any social unrest in America involving Black people, they have one common denominator. In fact, listen, when they burnt down Watts, when they burnt down LA, when they burnt down Cincinnati, any social in Miami, when what was going on in Liberty City in the 80s, if you look at every issue, there's only one common denominator, and it's injustice, usually perpetuated by people with authority.
Airmen on military bases in
bro,
the 70s. They don't talk about that.
Yeah, or during Vietnam, when King was killed, what was going on in Vietnam back in the day. Because I will tell you this, the leaders don't come from the top of the pyramid. You don't. Because the top of the pyramid is usually last to know what's going on. The revolution starts at the bottom.
To the sun, too close to the sun.
They blinded. It starts at the discontent starts at the bottom. So the only catalyst, the only predictor of most of these gladiator athletes are bandwagon people. They will get on the bandwagon when it is in their self-interest to do so. When they see that the winds are changing, then they will be like, yeah, I support that. And that's all you really want. You're not looking for these people to be the wind changers because they're close to the pyramid. And so what I've seen is this, is the injustice is what radicalizes people more than anything else.
I would agree.
And when you start to see it happening, and that's why I start to see happening with a lot of these things today, is that when you start to see injustice and it's blatant, like they don't even try to hide it anymore. It's just like, look, here's the injustice, deal with it.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why they're trying to change my bad, Johnson. But that's why they're trying to change.
Go ahead. Tay, we need to go into the money tip and book tip anyway, so please.
Yeah, I just want to say, but that radicalization today is why we see and the people trying to take over school systems and change the curriculum of school systems because it's younger white children becoming radicalized.
Yes,
That is the problem, and that's why they're trying to change. There's, you know what I'm saying? So
they are. Yes, yes.
Oh no, Tay, please elaborate on that just a little bit, sir. Sir.
oh no, in the anti-CRT movement, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Anti-CRT. What they're doing is, they're removing books of Martin Luther King and anything that says anything about revolt. You know what I'm saying? They're changing history. They're changing, oh, Thomas Jefferson was a nice guy, he he didn't really like slavery, you know what I'm saying?
Pimp.
Martin, they're just erasing Martin Luther King. They're taking out anything that has anything to do with this message of revolt, of changing the system. You know what I'm saying? They are absolutely getting rid of it, and you're seeing it at school boards.
Yeah.
It's happening at school boards.
And this is
For
that
sure.
backlash.
Yeah, the
This is
back
that
Sure.
backlash.
Well,
And yeah,
and
because it was
I'll tell you this,
white white
guys,
people who was
because we're at an hour, and we can go two, and
yeah.
so due to the fact for network purposes, we're gonna wrap it up. But I will say this, man. I said this to a white person today, and I'm gonna go on record today. We talk white, we black, color, all this other stuff. We served in the military, and that ain't no excuse because you can still be prejudiced. But I heard that black people couldn't be racist. But at the end of the day, we ain't. We just talk about how we feel and exist in this world. It's not about being racist. It's about what's actually going on, And so to understand that is, man, there's so much to be said. I don't want to end this. Take that CRT is a big deal, and because I told a white person for real, straight up, stop quoting Martin Luther King. Y'all don't know shit about Martin Luther King, and you're quoting whatever is beneficial to your cause, and you ain't listen to the rest of the speech. So just stop. Stop.
Black people misquote Martin Luther King. That's why they're attacking.
Everybody does. Everybody potentially does, but it is more egregious when what? The egregiousness comes in when I feel so. Because from what I say, not from the standpoint of being controversial, just being from the standpoint of observation.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a black person, Instagram, whatever, stand up and say something about injustice, and it seems like it's quote unquote race baiting, you will see an ambitious white person enter said conversation and say that it's race baiting, and then might or might not quote Martin Luther King. Right? And then the conversation come back like a person like myself might say, hey, I understand what you're saying, but your perspective, and I do not say it in this tone at all, but the perspective that you're coming with, understand, but you don't even know the perspective. Like you're literally sitting in the back seat right now.
Hey, can I say this real quick?
Go ahead.
In 2020, just to further prove my point here, in 2020, what was one of the things Trump went after in the military? What did he go after? Diversity, equity, and
he got rid of it. I was on the program, Tay, with your wife.
Why did he do that?
Shit, Tay.
Yeah, but he wasn't the only one. They were attacking diversity, equity, inclusion because black people and other ethnic groups and classes of people were talking and educating white people, mainly white kids. So they're like, yo, so then what do you see? You see when the school boards happen in this country, they got rid of their diversity, equity, inclusion programs. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
it backfires because anytime you try to oppose something, you publicize it.
Yes,
you publicize
I agree.
But they already know.
They already know.
Tay,
yeah.
Hey, hit me with the money tip and the book tip, man. Hit me with the money tip and the book tip.
Yeah, man. Money tip, man. I would say, man, look, man, I know everybody, folk out there probably spent money on Christmas, man. One of those things I wish we would have done as parents is really not spend a lot of money on Christmas. My kids are getting older, so try to spend money on that money, making memories. I ain't trying to tell people what to do with their money. I'm just saying, save a little bit of money. Inflation is not going anywhere anytime soon. My book tip is I found this gem, the Journal of Negro History. This was written by the Carter G. Woodson, the father of
Black history.
Black History Week, which became Black History Month. And this copy, I'm trying to find more like it because it is an actual reprint from the 1930s. I like buying books from a period, you know what I'm saying? And one of those things that I believe about Black History Month, when we're talking about Martin Luther King, is that we tell myths during Black History Months, number one. And number two, we promote exceptional Negroes. And unfortunately, because we're always talking about the first, where, because I got this one and I got the three other volumes, and I got one more volume coming. So, but one thing I'm learning or understanding when going through these books, Black History Month wasn't supposed to be about first. It was supposed to talk about, it was supposed to be a inventory of
Progress.
progress, right? Exactly. And it was supposed to document to say, hey, okay, this is where we need to go. You know what I mean? It's not
Yes.
to talk about,
A
it's not to obsess
roadmap.
Yes, it was a
Roadmap.
roadmap. Yes,
Like that.
exactly. And
Okay.
it gave a history to say, hey, this is where your language come from, this is where your people come from. This is where you got these people moving. 2020 census said we're moving. You know what I'm saying? These are the industries and and areas that Black people need to go. So, you know what I'm saying? We need to get to that in Black History Month. So General Negro History, if you can get a copy. If it looks like this, is it's good. But you can get reprints out
It's the
there.
real thing. It's the real deal if it looked like that.
Uh,
Well, no, it's not
What
the
you
real deal. This is a reprint as well. This is a reprint as
okay.
well. It's just more closer to the original, because the other ones, these ones I got right here, are reprints as well, but it's missing like some documents, you know what I mean? And basically the documents that say, stuff like, hey, donate to, the Journal of Negro History and things like that. Advertisements and things of that nature. But it's good.
Right. Okay. Okay. Doc, what you got?
I don't like to be alarmist because I feel that it helps nobody to panic.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a book. This is written by Dr. King. The last book he wrote before he was assassinated.
Yep.
The title is "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community?" And so my thought is we've chosen chaos.
Yeah,
we've neglected community and we've chosen chaos, which will tie into my financial tip is how to prepare for the chaos, because what he talks about is the civil rights movement was only phase one. That wasn't the end all. Just the right to vote and the right to sit at a lunch counter was cheap. That didn't cost nothing. That was easy. He talks about phase two. Phase two cost something. And so when I understand the cost is, I tell people that the cost will be paid. It may not be in money, but it will be paid. And I think the unfortunate problem is that when people realize this, it might be too late.
Mm.
Yeah, man.
Jeez. I tend to always take a little bit of a different approach with the book suggestion. One, because I don't just pick up and read everything, but I do pick up specific things for specific reasons, right? And so my money tip would go along with this book that I have called Morning Rituals. Okay. Morning Rituals by Leslie Corin, whatever. I picked up this book because for real, I wanted to build new and good habits that we can talk about and go search different things, but I wanted to sit down with something that got me in tune with building specific habits for the morning to help me be more successful, right? And so the reason I talk about this is because with money, we tend to look at things very skewed, right? I'll give you an example. Somebody might look for a bargain on soap and pay $6 for soap for the largest organ on their body. The epidermis being the skin being able to take care of the skin. Bargain and spend $6 on soap that could last them for, depending on how much they use and how much they big, for a week, two, whatever, but will continuously spend $6 every morning on something like Starbucks.
Mm.
right? And so it's like you can make coffee at home and actually make it a ritual for yourself to bring you like joy and like producing your own like energy, you know what I mean? But yet we'll rather pay $6. Some people, I'm giving an example, go pay $6, go sit in the line and run up in there for some people, because of what? Because of what? Right. And so what I'm saying, this morning ritual book is an example of a book that I'm being deliberate in certain rituals, but in understanding that when you get good habits and rituals, you become more disciplined in self. Right.
Yeah.
So understanding that discipline is important at every aspect of human consciousness. And so as we speak very heavily on what we know we speak about, discipline is important. And we know that as of, retired service members, right? So discipline in self at the micro level is just as important as these big issue items that we talk about. Money tip.
Yeah.
Spend your money wisely in places where, stop spending $6 on coffee. Go get you some Starbucks and learn how to make your own coffee and get some rituals that help give you good routine in life. Money tip, book tip. I got another tip. You should buy like some OA shit, right? So OA by KJ, plug. Stress desserts, baby. Stress desserts. What does that mean? You got to work hard for the shit that you want, but at the same time, it's all about perspective, because stress desserts, those are the same letters spelled each way.
What's that, a anagram?
Oh, yeah. Well, you do it. And then I got the Myers, the Muller-Lyer effect, where it looks like, I do the Muller-Lyer with the lines and all that. It's all about perspective. And, if you live in a 3D state, you can actually feel what the physical state is, and then you just live there and that's it. But once you make it outside of that, and you recognize that most people live in a physical state, and you learn how to control your physical state and other perceptions, that's actually becoming godlike, which is what I was talking about with those damn celebrities.
You mean
either way?
G? You mean capital G or lowercase g?
I mean, having the ability to control culture and needs to the point where people pray to be at a point like you, to understand, I said capital G, big G, just understand that you have power, which is what we always seem to talk about here on Objectively Aggressive. And I love it, because I wish I had the out thing saying I got the power. We need to bring back some of this powerful 90s music, man.
Yes.
We really do. I got the power. I remember that. And I just remember it. Nobody rapped on that, but just a little bit. Doom, doom. I remember that. It was a powerful thing. Like, we didn't need music. We just knew, you know what I mean? If that was on the weekend, you might be cleaning up. It might be something, you know what I mean? Depending on how old your parents.
You know why black people stop saying power?
Why?
Because when they said it, white people showed them what power really was.
Not the power.
They say we're gonna show you what power is. It ain't
every time. Because it's a competition every time.
Power ain't about chanting.
No, it's not.
Because
it's about being quiet and showing.
Because if I gotta tell you I got power, I'm automatically losing some power.
Automatically. And you know what? We all got to remember that as soon as because I'm guilty of the credibility chase, just because sometimes when I speak, I spend enough time trying to understand what I'm saying to say it, and then somebody will say, "You don't know what you're talking about," and I'll be like, "Oh, okay." And you don't want to ask them what they do and what they spent their life doing, because it's just offensive, right?
Man, I talked to this guy who read Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, and I looked at every example that he had, and they were all Eurocentric.
Yeah, they're all Eurocentric.
There was not one Afrocentric example in that whole book. And I was like,
absolutely right.
And I said, yeah, so this is how to get power as a European.
Yes.
So he should have put the 48 laws of how to get power as a European.
Correct. And you know what?
This is how you get power in Africa.
No. But that's why I say to read that book and to understand how Europeans work is amazing, because you need to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So because I want to be congruent, 5 minutes, 4, 3, 2, we out here. Stay on the line,
Peace.
boys.
Hey.